What's up guys, Asian here again with another PTS video, and today I'm taking a look at one of the new medium armor sets that are coming out with Harrowstorm, that is Aegis Caller. So this is a medium armor set here. Let's go ahead and take a look at it right now. So this comes from one of the new dungeons coming out with Harrowstorm, Unhallowed Grave. It is the medium armor set here. So as you can see here, you get 2 weapon damage bonuses, one for the 2-piece, one for the 4-piece. You get a stamina regen for the 3-piece. Helps out your sustain a little bit, which is always nice. Doesn't really directly contribute to any sort of real DPS, but hey, if it helps you sustain your light attack rotation for a little bit longer, then it indirectly helps you out that way. But in terms of just raw like DPS, it's obviously not as strong as weapon damage, max stamina, or weapon crit, which directly increases your DPS. So bit of a loss there. And finally, a 5-piece. When you deal critical damage with a melee ability, you summon a Lesser Aegis for 12 seconds. After 2.5 seconds, the Lesser Aegis spins its blades, dealing 6344 bleed damage every 1 second. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. So in theory, you can have this up for pretty much 100% of the time here if you're able to get it to proc. Notice that it is a guaranteed proc as long as you deal critical damage with a melee ability. So these are things like light attacks, heavy attacks, and other abilities that are considered melee abilities. So for example, the first tick of Venomous Claws for a stam DK, surprise attack for a stamina nightblade. If you're using that, rapid strikes for instance still count as a melee ability. So there are plenty of opportunities to get this to proc as a stamina DPS. Now, first, let's go ahead and take a look at what the Lesser Aegis actually looks like. So, this is basically what it looks like. So we're going to be using this Bone Goliath dummy here, so you'll be able to see exactly what it looks like once I crit. So that's what it looks like right there when it's summoned, and you can see how wide this AoE is. So everything within this AoE is affected by that bleed damage here. So if we go ahead and place one of the dummies right here, just outside of that radius, you'll see that it actually will not be hit. So let's just reset the dummies real quick to pull ourselves out of combat. We'll go ahead and let's move the 6 million dummy right here. So this is just barely at the edge of the proc itself. So if we go ahead and re-proc it, there we go. You can see that we're not quite hitting it, but this is still a fairly wide radius when it comes to the actual range here. So you can see it's just barely out of that circle there. But you can see that it lasts for quite a bit of time here. So it lasts for about 9.5 seconds, and you can proc it again after 10 seconds. So in theory, you can get pretty close to 100% uptime. It's effectively 100% uptime here. Now, in terms of how wide the actual radius is, let me see if I can find something here. So if you take a look at a Circle of Protection here, Circle of Protection is a 5-meter radius, so it's about a 5-meter radius depending on where the Aegis spawns. So it spawns right around here. Basically, it's a little bit wider than this 5-meter radius, so anything within a Circle of Protection is going to get hit by the proc here. So what does that basically mean? Well, it's actually a really powerful set. As the name implies for this video, it is essentially what I would like to call an AoE Relequen. So a big complaint with Relequen from a lot of players is the fact that Relequen is only single target. You can basically think of this again as an AoE Relequen. Because of that fairly large radius, it's only 5 meters, so it's still relatively small, but it's still more than what Relequen is able to provide. So I did do a couple of parses here with a couple of different gear setups, just so you guys can get an idea of the amount of DPS that Aegis Caller actually does. This first parse here is with Laquestes and Aegis Caller. I have Aegis Caller as the body set, and I have Laquestes as the front bar set here. And we pulled 77.8k if you round up to the nearest 100. In terms of the DPS that Aegis Caller actually does, you can see here it does 7266 DPS. And keep that number in mind as we will be comparing it to the Relequen proc damage. So this is the Relequen plus Laquestes, so Relequen's on the body, Laquestes is on the front bar again, pulled 80.4k, and the Relequen proc here deals 9622. So in terms of actual DPS, single target DPS, Relequen still pulls out ahead of Aegis Caller. Now, it's not that big of a difference. So here, it's only about a 2.4k difference in DPS. But you have to consider that Aegis Caller creates this 5-meter AoE around it. So if you have a lot of things stacked up together, Aegis Caller actually does damage, much more damage than Relequen, because it's able to hit everything within that circle for that bleed damage. The next question I asked is, well, what if I swap around Aegis Caller and Laquestes? Because Laquestes, with it on the body, I'm able to use basically synergies wherever I want. The Aegis Caller, because it deals, the proc condition is a melee ability, I can have this on the front bar and probably not lose that much uptime on it. We did end up pulling a little bit less here, 57.9 compared to the original 77.8, so we lost 2k DPS here. And we can see the reason why here is likely because Aegis Caller wasn't up as much. So 219 here, actually no, it's about the same time, 222. So not a little bit of a difference here. In theory, both of these numbers should be the same. Laquestes on front bar versus Aegis Caller on front bar. They should both be pretty similar to each other, but there are probably some minor differences here and there. And now for the final test I did, I figured, well, why not just combine Relequen and Aegis Caller, kind of see how Aegis Caller and then stacks up against Laquestes here. And it turns out it did pretty damn well. 83.5k. Again, Aegis Caller here doing 6,560 DPS compared to Relequen's 9104. Again, roughly a 2.5k difference in DPS here. So pretty consistent difference there. But again, Aegis Caller is AoE, so we're getting a lot of additional potential damage if we had a lot of adds around this, for example. So with Relequen and Aegis Caller, if you combine them together, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting the single target damage from Relequen, and you are getting the AoE damage from Aegis Caller. Now, if Aegis Caller isn't updated at all in 5.3.2, which is probably going to be the first rebalance patch, then for shorter fights, I'd probably say Aegis Caller is probably going to be stronger than Relequen, so I'd go Aegis Caller Laquestes. For trash fights, you're going to want to go, again, Aegis Caller and Laquestes, and then for single target fights, you might as well go Relequen and Aegis Caller. Now, you will be losing out on the Major Slayer from not running Laquestes, but there might be ways around it. Perhaps you'll be able to run, for example, Stamina Nightblades with War Machine, perhaps, or Stamina Wardens with War Machine. So, yes, you will be losing the Major Slayer, but just for raw single target damage, at least from my tests, again, these are only just one parses, so I do need to do a couple more tests here before I actually create these builds. But just from kind of a cursory look here, it does seem like Aegis Caller is competitive at the very least with Laquestes when it comes to single target damage. For AoE damage, it's kind of hard to compare them because obviously Laquestes just gives you Major Slayer, which bumps up all your damage, versus Aegis Caller, which is a proc set, so it can't crit or anything like that. It's a little bit difficult to compare for AoE, but they should be very powerful sets. So I would definitely recommend, if they do not change Aegis Caller, to definitely try to farm a set here. Now, I will caution that it is still only the first week of the PTS, and it is highly likely that Aegis Caller will be toned down in 5.3.2 and potential future PTS patches. Right now, it is actually very strong. Again, 2.5k DPS weaker than Relequen, but AoE, so still fairly strong. So I can see Aegis Caller being dropped down, the proc damage being dropped down by maybe a third to a half. Or potentially the uptime being cut down from 100% uptime to maybe like 60 to 66% uptime instead. I think those two changes, one or the other, are likely to occur. So keep an eye here on this channel. If they do decide to update Aegis Caller, I will do an update video to kind of compare it against Laquestes and kind of see how it stands as an AoE set. But that concludes this video. Let me know down in the comment section below if there's anything else you'd like me to test on the PTS. Again, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next dungeon.